valued the dollar by doing so?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, 40%
Is that the correct figure?
Yep.
That's correct. And my guess is they do that again, but they're not going to go through that rigmarole of grabbing everybody's coins. They're going to go after the ETF.
ETFs makes it really easy, yeah. With
That's
the GLD, yeah.
And, the people who invest in ETF are either traders or pros, and they'll say, well, look, that game was taken away from me. I'll go buy the shares, or I'll go buy bullion myself, or I'll stay out of the game. But the point is that as pros, they'll say, well, we'll take the dollars. What do we care?
Right. It's just another game for them. They just move on.
Right. I mean, you're on Wall Street. I was on there for 28 years. You know the mentality. I mean, they break the rules a million times a day.
Gentlemen, we have calls from all over the country patiently waiting here. Dan in Memphis. Hello, Dan.
Oh, hi. My four favorite anti-heroes. I just love this. This is great. Listen, I'll cut it short because I know you got a lot of calls, but my call is, I have a question for all of you guys, but since you have Mr. Celente on there, I'm going to ask you two trend questions. Number one, where do you see tobacco going? Where do you see that going as far as legislation? Where do you see it going as a black market a tool for making money? And this other question is about couch surfing. Have you ever heard of that, where people open their homes up to, like at Hostel, where, they bring in people? Have you ever heard of that?
No. What's going to happen is these McMansions are going to be turning into the boarding houses of the 21st century. So we're on the same page with that. Yeah, I mean, there's no way that people are going to be able to afford to keep these things up between taxes and not having jobs. And people are one job away from losing everything. So we're going to start seeing more of that. Yeah, hostels or couch surfing, as you call it. And as far as tobacco goes, they're going to keep levying more and more sin taxes, anything that they can do to squeeze the little people. So, of course, from this black markets always appear when you raise the prices too high. Well, I get a kick out of this Bernie Madoff thing. I'm afraid to have 3 glasses of wine and get caught driving. They'll throw me up against the car, put handcuffs on me, and throw me in jail. And don't get caught stealing from a 7-Eleven.
There you go.
But boy, you do a Bernie Madoff deal, and there's, that's why there's going to be a revolution in this country.
Dan,
we're seeing these politicians, these high princes and gangsters, getting a sweet ride, while the little people are getting squeezed to death. There will be a revolution. See the real estate market continuing to decline. We haven't, we're not anywhere near it. The only way we see us getting out of this, the greatest depression, as we're calling it, because when you go back and compare what's going on now to 1930s, most people didn't own homes, they didn't have taxes, they didn't have insurance upkeep. They didn't have credit cards. They weren't $14 trillion in debt. We had trade surpluses. We weren't $700 billion in the hole. We had budget surpluses. We weren't $13 trillion. Now they're talking about, as Bob mentioned, by the end of this year. Back then, we had a manufacturing capacity that got us out of the Depression with the onset of World War II. So the only way that we're going to get out of this, as we see it, is a productive capacity. Again, you can't print your way out of it or lower interest rates out of it. The lowering of interest rates is the thing that got us into this, when they lowered interest rates to 46-year lows following the dot-com bust in 2000. So I'm saying that because when you go back to the 1990s, we were in a very bad recession, 7.2 unemployment, just as we have now in 1993. What got us out of that was the Internet revolution. We're all living life differently. We all have all this equipment we never had before. It was a productive capacity and productive services. In the absence of that, we're going to keep going downhill.
Renee,
I'd like to add something too. Also, I think the people who are in power in Washington, which includes both parties and the people who back them, I think this is a backdoor method of getting into Third World War. And historically, if you look back, you'll see whenever any civilization country has gotten into a financial and economic situation like we are today, they've had a war. And so first it's Gaza, do the most atrocious things possible, draw Lebanon and Syria into it. Then comes Iran. and then we have a nuclear war. And who else is going to get involved? We don't know, but it's going to go on for a long time.
All right.
Yeah, this will be the beginning of World War III. And, I heard this guy, Olmert, the prime minister over there, what is he under indictment for something as well?
Yeah, kickbacks.
Yeah, and he said he's going to strike Hamas with an iron fist. I'm tired of all these fat-mouthed leaders talking tough. I'd like to see his iron fists. I'd like to see him get in the ring with the Hamas guy that he hates so much and go at it man to man and keep the people out of it. It's about time these leaders that keep leading nations into war, if they're going to call themselves commander-in-chiefs, let's stop acting like cowards and chiefs. Let them be the Napoleons, the Alexander the Greats. Let them lead the charge instead of leading with their mouths.
Virtual currency.
Oh, yes.
If I'm right, well, I know I'm right about what Alan Greenspan said. I mean, I know I'm right about that. But if what they did with Bank of America, which is the one that I'm positive that they took over, if they took the Bank of America and set up a system, whereby they could create virtual currency in your bank account, I would think that would be why gold is being shorted, because gold will become superfluous. I mean, it will become useless in a system of virtual currency. And virtual currency is your debit card. Okay? Now, if you understand how the government has been redesigning systems for e-government, that means the education system tied to the labor market, tied to the banking system, tied to the education system. All of these systems that they've been putting together for e-government all work together, and they would be able to make currency as we know it obsolete.
And that very well may be here in the future. I mean, I'm seeing stories here that they're going after the online shopping, the states and their taxes. No more can you buy from another state and avoid paying sales taxes, and that's going to put the burden on businesses, different taxes, city tax, state taxes, so on and so forth. But they're out there trying to collect as much cash as they can, and now they're talking about going after internet. So that may be plausible here in the near future, but
they destroyed the tax base. There was a hearing in 2004 where the taxes that they were collecting were at their lowest point since 1950. Can you imagine the amount of taxes that they collected in 1950? That's what they collected in 2004. And what they've done with the government computer, with the government books, is Enron accounting. And the only reason that they were able to continue going in 2004 is because they begged the offshore corporations to repatriate some, $500 billion in profits at a 5% tax rate.
Mm-hmm. Well, Vicki, we'll look.
The figure was 360, and it was 5.25 instead of 33.
All right, Vicki, I thank you for your call.